We're live. It's episode 5, Plays and Parlays. I'm Joe Serralo. I need to get my shit together after a couple 3-3 weeks. He's Jarrett Bailey, and his Pittsburgh Steelers suck. Jarrett, what's up, man?
Yeah, I mean, I had a solid week in terms of betting at least. So yeah, feeling good going into week 5. Starting to get things, trying to get them north of 500. So we'll see if we can do that.
My man, hey, I'm gonna clap it up for you. I got 3-3 weeks in a row. You just had your first winning week, 4-2 on your pick 6, and wait for it, everyone. The man hit his extra point.
I did. The Indianapolis Colts came through.
I got to admit, I shit on you for that Colts pick. So congratulations. But this week, I'm getting back in the win column. Jarrett, should I start things up?
Yeah, here, let's get to our pick 6, and we'll start off with yours.
Let's do it. The LA Rams are coming off a blowout loss to the Arizona Cardinals. So this is the perfect week to take the Rams. Thursday Night Football, -2.5 at Seattle. Why do I love the Rams so much in this game? Well, since 2017, in other words, during Sean McVay's tenure as head coach, the Rams have the second best cover percentage in football, going 13-7 after a loss. Look, on the flip side, after a win in that same time frame since 2017, Seattle covers just 43% of the time. Where does that rank in the league? 28th out of 32. And by the way, there is only one NFC team that Russ Wilson, who I absolutely love, has a losing record against in his 10-year career. It's the Rams organization. 8-12 against them. 8-11, soon to be 8-12. Give me the Rams -2.5 on Thursday night.
I mean, the Rams, they didn't just – I mean, they got beat by Arizona. Now, I don't think we're going to see their defense crumble like they did against the Cardinals. I think they just had a bad day in week 4. So, Seattle's defense, we know how bad they are. Russell Wilson's great. Lockett, Metcalf, we know it's going to be a shootout. So, I mean, if you want to take the over here as well, would not blame anybody for doing it. But, yeah, I do think the Rams bounce back. Seattle, I mean, they're going to be – if that's the case, they go to 2-3. One of the last things I expected was Seattle to be sitting at 2-3 and Arizona potentially at 5-0 after 5 weeks. But, the NFC West continues to surprise us. So, love the pick. Let me get into mine. Speaking of Arizona, I do like the -5.5 this week against the 49ers. Look, their offense, as good as their offense is, their defense has surprised me a lot. That was their biggest question mark coming into the year. But, Isaiah Simmons, they're finding ways to utilize him. They add Zaven Collins. Byron Murphy's playing well. This is a solid defense. I don't think it's an elite defense by any means, but it's better than expected. We know how good Kyler Murray is, but he's utilizing everybody. Like last week it was AJ Green. It's been Rondale Moore a lot. Like it's not just DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray playing catch for 3 hours. Like this is an offense that has a lot of weapons, a defense that's playing really well. San Francisco, I mean, they've lost, they're coming off a loss. They've lost 2 straight, the San Francisco 49ers have. So we're going to potentially see Trey Lance. If we see Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a little bit banged up with the calf. It just feels, regardless of who the quarterback is for San Francisco, Arizona is just a better team right now. So Cardinals -5.5 to get to 5-0. It's probably my favorite. I mean, I don't love the lines that much this week, but this is one that I feel more confident in than others.
Yeah, not a big fan of the 5.5. There's another game, the Raiders-Bears, that has a 5.5 point line. But I love the Cardinals to win. It could be, my only reservation here is maybe like a 31-27 final. But there is something that has to do with this game that I'll come back to later on. Sure. My second pick. You mentioned the Seattle Seahawks starting off the year 2-3 if they lose tomorrow night to the Rams. Well, that could put my preseason over of Seattle over 10 wins in jeopardy. But my Green Bay Packers over 11.5 is going to look great when they advance to 4-1 after not only winning, but covering in Cincinnati this weekend. Look, I'm going with another field goal road favorite here, and it's a pretty easy call for me because the Packers have been rolling since that week 1 debacle against Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints. There are only 2 active quarterbacks that have started more than 50 games who are better against the spread than Aaron Rodgers. Teddy Bridgewater, the best against the spread quarterback of all time, and Tom Brady, the GOAT, the best quarterback of all time. After those 2, among all quarterbacks with at least 50 starts under their belt, Aaron Rodgers is the next best against the spread. So why the fuck would I bet against him? Give me the Pack -3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much going to echo a little bit what you said because Green Bay is one of my picks as well.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, look, props to Cincinnati, man. They're 3-1. They're atop the AFC North after the first quarter of the year. I do think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a little, little further than a field goal. I think Green Bay does win between, 7 and 9. I think Cincinnati keeps it close. Their defense is good. Offensively, we know Joe Burrow's been playing well, but Aaron Rodgers is on one right now. Now, they played a little bit more conservative in the second half against Pittsburgh, but they were up 17 in the fourth quarter. They didn't necessarily need to get all gaudy on offense. So the Packers look really well right now. Defensively, I'd like to see them get a little bit more physical. Cincinnati's offensive line got a little bit better, so we'll see how Kenny Clark, Preston Smith fare against that. I'm excited to see this, though. I mean, Eric Stokes and the Packers secondary, it's the unit that everybody's kind of paying attention to on that side of the ball. So if they can slow down Joe Burrow and if Aaron Rodgers can keep doing what he's been doing over the last few weeks, Green Bay should win and they should cover.
Hey, Jarrett, betting aside for 1 minute, because you're not only a Steelers fan, but you cover the team for a couple different media outlets. I mean, Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin, it looked like there was some serious flirting going on the field on Sunday. Is Aaron Rodgers coming to the Steel City? Is this more than just a fantasy, more than just a pipe dream?
It started off as a bit for me in like February, but now, I'm not going to guarantee anything, but there's a greater than 0 chance that he's a Steeler next year, I would say. Uncle Colin Cowherd pointed this out earlier today.
Uncle Colin, I thought that was your soon-to-be father-in-law.
So he's.
Let me know if is Liv watching. Is Liv watching the show, guys?
I'm gonna doubt that Liv Cowherd is watching the show, but if she is, hi Liv. He pointed out, Aaron wouldn't put something out there about somebody that he likes if he didn't want it to be out there. So, it does seem like this is his last dance in Green Bay. It would take a lot to get him. But it seems to me that it's going to come down to Denver and Pittsburgh. There's not a 0% chance he's in Pittsburgh next year. It started off as a pipe dream. Now there's a realistic chance of it. Again, that's not me guaranteeing that he's going to be a Packer, but there's a greater than 0 chance that he's going to be in Pittsburgh. So I'm excited to see what happens when the time comes. But I'm going to hold my breath about it because I would be unbearable on the Bird app if that does happen.
You already are unbearable. You'd be even worse. By the way, Liv, if you are watching, Jarrett is single, so feel free to just slide in after the show. Let's get to my third pick because it wouldn't be an episode of Plays and Parlays without me betting against the Pittsburgh Steelers. 5 episodes, 5 straight weeks I've bet against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jarrett, I don't care who's playing quarterback for the Denver Broncos. If it's Teddy Bridgewater, well then, hey, you've not only got the best covering quarterback of all time, but a man who is an ungodly 23-3 against the spread on the road. And if it's Drew Lock, well, I don't know. Right now, is Drew Lock better than Ben Roethlisberger? Is Drew Lock better than a banged-up Ben Roethlisberger? I mean, Big Ben's questionable for this one. The Steelers' defense, I said it last week, guys, it's not your father's Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I just don't have faith in this team on either side of the ball. And the Denver Broncos, they might be able to do the unthinkable, start 4-1. I love Denver in this one, plus the point, but to win outright.
Yeah, I mean, this is there's no getting around the Steelers are a bad team right now. And I'm going to quote my friend Matt Verderam from Fansided. Go watch the Stacking the Box podcast. This is Custard's last stand for Pittsburgh. Like, if they lose this, it's done. It's hard enough to dig out of a 1-3 hole, especially with the schedule that they have. It's going to be damn near impossible to dig out of a 1-4 hole because next week they got Seattle, and that's not going to be easy. So, it's one. I mean, obviously, being a fan of Pittsburgh, I don't touch. In terms of betting on their games, I don't touch it. But this is definitely this is do or die for them. Like, their backs have been against the wall the past couple weeks, but this is the absolute kill shot if they go down to Denver. So, this year, the first time that they've lost back-to-back home games since 2003. Oddly enough, 2003, the last year that they finished with a sub-500 record. Maybe we're seeing some parallels from that. Right now, they're not a very good team. Offensive line-wise, they got better last week, but Ben Roethlisberger is he's got no more bullets left in the gun. And it's very evident of that right now. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is going to be a slugfest defensively. So it's going to be a low scoring game. Another one where I would, if you want to pay attention to the number on this, I would bet the under. But yeah, Pittsburgh, Denver. It'll be a fun defensive game, and if that's your type of football that you like watching. But
I might have something to come on that under. But I mean, Big Ben. Look, you mentioned it. I mean, you look at his arm. The guy's shooting blanks. He's going limp. Yeah. Big Ben right now at this point in his career is synonymous with erectile dysfunction.
All right, I'm just gonna My third pick is Kansas City minus 2.5
Ooh.
against the Buffalo Bills. This is going to be fun. I'm glad this is on Sunday Night Football. Credit to Buffalo. I will say that. They've put up 3 straight masterful performances offensively. They've also done it against the god-awful Miami Dolphins, a Washington football team whose defense does not look anything like it did last year, and the Houston Texans, who you and I could play receiver for. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. Shutting out a team 40-0 is great. This is their first real test of the year. They had a dud week 1 against Pittsburgh, and they've looked phenomenal since then. Kansas City is – I'm not going to bet against the Chiefs. And if you're Buffalo in this situation, like odds are we're going to see a rematch of these two sometime in January, whether it's in the divisional, AFC Championship game. I don't think this is going to be the only time these two play this year. Defensively for Kansas City, they're going to have to figure out a way to stop Josh Allen. But Buffalo's got to figure out a way to stop Patrick Mahomes as well. Josh Gordon's playing in this game as well, so that's going to add a whole other monkey wrench into the system. They're going to utilize him well. But, we saw what he did for a brief moment in Seattle. I think he's going to be better than that in
Been
Kansas
on the
City.
team 9 days. I just don't have a whole lot of faith in Josh Gordon. And the Chiefs' defense is the only defense in the league worse than Kansas City is Seattle. I mean, it really is. It's pretty simple when you look at the Chiefs. You mentioned you're not going to bet against the Chiefs. Well, if you had bet against the Chiefs each of the last 15 games of theirs, your record would be 12-2-1. So betting against the Chiefs, you'd be sitting pretty if you were betting against the Chiefs more often.
Sure. Right now, they seem to be getting into a flow offensively. It's going to be a shootout, and if it's going to be a shootout, I'm not going to go against Patrick Mahomes. Again, nothing against Buffalo. This is by far their biggest test of the year thus far. It's going to have a lot of implications. So Kansas City minus 2.5. It's in Arrowhead. I like Kansas City in the money and the number.
Well, I'm going to go with a road favorite with this next pick. Actually, it's my 3rd road favorite, 4th road team so far this episode. It's the New England Patriots minus 9 in Houston. Davis Mills, I think we can write him off. I know this is just going to be his 3rd start. Yeah. He is not a good quarterback. The last 2 games, Houston's lost by a combined score of 64-9. And I have to say, despite losing the game on Sunday night, that was the most impressive performance I have personally seen from Mac Jones at any level. I don't care about running the table, going 15-0 in Alabama, winning a national title. That was the best game I've ever seen Mac Jones play, because that whole game was about Tom Brady. The New England Patriots, who have no receiving core, should have gotten stomped out and embarrassed by their former franchise quarterback. And Mac Jones was the best offensive player on the field Sunday night. I'm not a fan of his, but I was really impressed. I think that game, I know moral victories don't count, and I know Bill Belichick would want to neuter me for saying that game was a moral victory. It was. I know that they're 1-3, but this game against Houston is a great gimme, and I think New England's going to win this one by double digits.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones played a good game, played a solid game, protected the ball, and a torrential downpour. Can't take anything away from him there. Went 31-40. He looked good. If New England shows up to the stadium in Houston, they should win by 10. The Texans are just a bad team. Now,
I mean, I talked about Mac Jones the whole time on the Patriots defense alone. How is Houston going to put the ball in the end zone?
We know what Bill Belichick is best at, and that's just scheming to take away what the other team does best. Houston has one really good offensive player, and it's Brandon Cooks. They don't have another receiver. He's got 28 catches this year. They don't have another wide receiver on the roster that has more than 6 catches.
Whoa, don't bash Danny Amendola.
I'm going to bash Danny Amendola. And again, it's not maybe not necessarily bashing him. It's just, what do they have? They don't have anything. It's Danny Amendola. It's Mark Ingram, David. No one is afraid of these people, especially
Week 1. Did you know Danny Amendola was on an NFL roster before Week 1?
No.
I didn't. I was watching Red Zone. I heard Danny Amendola. I said, what? He's still in the league? I mean, that's the Texans' offense. Like you said, Mark Ingram, David Johnson. That's their offense, is guys that you're like, what? They're still playing?
This would be a very good team in 2014.
Yeah, 2013 Pro Bowl right there.
So, Houston, I mean, and again, David Culley's going to do the very best that he can with what he's got right now, but they're bad on both sides of the ball. And it's unfair to Davis Mills because he's got such a horrible team around him, and that's how we're going to judge his rookie year, is that absolute dumpster fire of a roster that's been assembled around him. But regardless, Houston is just a bad team, likely to end up with the number 1 overall pick. They're just not a good football team. New England should win. by a lot. As long as all 53 guys show up to NRG Stadium, they should cover.
Absolutely. What's your fourth pick, Jarrett?
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, if Urban Meyer decided to get on the team plane, maybe I wouldn't have bet this because Jacksonville played well against Cincinnati. This whole situation is just one big distraction for a young team, and distractions for young teams seem to throw, they're already 0-4. This is the last thing that they needed, is for Urban Meyer to be caught in some sort of nightclub, restaurant, whatever, with some blonde girl our age that he's awkwardly grinding up against. It's the whole Urban Meyer experience has just been bad, man. So yeah, Tennessee -4. Look, they were without Julio Jones and AJ Brown against the Jets, and they lost. And regardless of how we feel about the Jets, it wasn't a great game from Tennessee. It wasn't a good game from their defense. Corey Davis had a hell of a game. Zach Wilson had his best game as a pro by a country mile.
Oh, easy.
So I think that they bounced back against a bad Jaguars team. And look, Jacksonville's skilled offensively. Defensively, there's still a lot to be desired there. And, if Urban Meyer, if he's on Bumble on the sideline and being distracted or doing whatever he's doing, it's just going to add fuel to that fire. So Tennessee -4 against the Jaguars.
Yeah, I everything that you said, you hit the nail on the head. And for those reasons, I'm staying away from this game because I think if Urban Meyer just got on that team plane and went back to Jacksonville, I'd be betting the Jaguars not only plus the points, maybe money line in this one. I think that this is a perfect game for Jacksonville, for Trevor Lawrence to get their first win. Tennessee's defense, statistically, not as bad as Kansas City, not as bad as Seattle. I think Tennessee has a bottom 3 defense in football. I think that their defense is worse than the Chiefs. I mean, they've played lesser competition than Kansas City. So the Chiefs' defense has had to go up against better offenses. The Titans' defense is abysmal. They don't put pressure on the quarterback. They don't have a secondary that can keep up with anyone. I mean, it is just an embarrassment to watch that Titans defense. So I think Jacksonville could actually shred them. But when you've got Monday morning Urban Meyer making an apology to his team, walking out of the room, and then 53 guys laughing their asses off at him the second he steps out of that room, how can you bet on that team for anything? How can you have any set of expectations for that team? So yeah, Jacksonville, it's a dumpster fire. Blow it up. 4 games in, Urban Meyer should have been fired just for not getting on the team plane. I mean, what coach does that? What coach does that? Yeah,
I mean, Jaguars ownership released a statement saying that he needs to, regain their trust and whatnot. But if you already don't have the trust for him through, a month in the season, like I didn't like the hire when they did it just because of all the shady things that have happened in his past, both at Florida and Ohio State. This is just confirming that right now. So they're not good, and Tennessee should win. So we'll get into your 5th pick instead of picking on Urban Meyer for a half hour, I suppose.
Let's do it. It's the Panthers at home -3.5 against the Eagles. Now, look, normally I hate a 3.5 point spread, but to me, looking at the value, it wasn't worth to buy it down to 3 to lay the -140 in this instance. I mean, this one just comes down to numbers and talent, and I think even at 3.5, it's a pretty safe bet. Under Matt Rule, the Carolina Panthers are the 4th best team against the number in the NFL in his season plus at the helm of that unit. This year at home, they're 2-0. In the same time frame, in Matt Rule's tenure with Carolina, the Eagles are the worst team in football against the spread. They even got Kansas City out of their 1-11 funk in their last 12 against the spread, and they allowed the Chiefs to cover. I mean, look, Jalen Hurts, he's a playmaker, right? The guy I think is talented. I don't know if with this unit that Philadelphia has presented him, he can lead them anywhere, but he's a talented kid. He's going to get embarrassed because even without J.C. Horn, this Panthers defense is special. I think you'll be one of the first people to attest to that. And even without Christian McCaffrey, this offense is going to slice through the Eagles defense. So I'm going with the Panthers at home. I'll even take the 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, that just added Stephon Gilmore to that defense as well. So this is a Panthers secondary that is absolutely stacked. Yes, J.C. Horn is gone. C.J. Henderson brought in, Stephon Gilmore brought in, A.J. Bouye is still there, Jeremy Chin. Like, this is a defensive backfield in Carolina that is arguably the best in the league on paper. So
it's fun.
Yeah, they're stacked all over that side of the ball. Sam Darnold's had a solid year thus far. They've got a really good, a ton of good skill position guys. DJ Moore, I think, is one of the more underrated receivers in football right now. So, I mean, I wasn't big on Philly coming into the year. I'm still not big on them. And you know how big I am on Carolina. So this is a game that I just bet on actually today. Once I saw the Stephon Gilmore trade took place, I wanted to get to it before any sort of line was adjusted. So Carolina minus 3.5. Yeah, I like it as well.
And Gilmore, just as a disclaimer for anyone who's betting the game, Stephon Gilmore won't be activated off the PUP list till week 7. Yeah. So just want to throw that out there. Don't let that impact your bet on this game. But even without him, even without J.C. Horn, I think the rest of that defensive backfield is strong enough. And the Eagles receiving core, I'm just not impressed. Devontae Smith's a stud, star in the making, but after him, there's a considerable talent drop-off.
Yeah, so let's get into my next one. Indianapolis plus 6.5 at Baltimore. We've talked about the Colts a good amount throughout the year. They were my extra point pick last week that I bet them both spread and money line, and they came through against Miami. I think that they're a team that's better than the 1-3 record shows. And we talked about how they could have beat the Rams and whatnot, so I don't want to harp too much on it. But defensively, they're solid. Offensively, I like Carson Wentz. I know that you're not a Carson Wentz guy. I believe in Carson Wentz. So the run game, I mean, Jonathan Taylor looked really good. So Baltimore, to me, I mean, they beat up a Denver team that lost Teddy Bridgewater. It was kind of a weird game in general. And then the whole Vic Fangio thing afterwards, I'm not even going to touch that because it's annoying. But I do like the Colts. I don't know if they win, but I think that they keep it close. Monday Night Football, they should be able to keep it within a touchdown.
I think the Colts are going to get eviscerated on Monday night. I mean, look, I'll admit I was wrong last week about Carson Wentz not being the best quarterback on the field. Jacoby Brissett looked like he had nothing. Carson Wentz looked serviceable. Jonathan Taylor's a stud. The Colts have a good defense. The O-line, they're without Quentin Nelson, which they were able to get by Miami without him. I think they're really going to miss him against Baltimore, especially being that it's in Baltimore. I mean, Odafe Owe, the rookie edge rusher out of Penn State, who we both know well, he is having an incredible rookie season. I was pretty low on him, actually. Being a Penn State fan, didn't believe in him going into the draft. He is busting out in all sorts of ways. I mean, I don't know. I'm fading this pick of yours hard. I think Baltimore could win this one by 17, 20 points.
Well, hey, you faded the Indianapolis pick last week, and they came through. Let's see if we can make it 2 in a row. Let's get to your
Baltimore
sixth.
Ain't the Dolphins. Lamar Jackson ain't Jacoby Brissett. Let's take it to SoFi Stadium for my 6th pick, the site of Super Bowl 56, February 2022. This is my last pick of the pick 6, and it's a game that I went back and forth on all day, Jarrett. At the end of the day, this comes down to me not seeing enough from Baker Mayfield yet this season. Look, the Browns defense is incredible. Ranked 2nd statistically in the league, and you can argue that because the Bills, who have the top-ranked defense, have played such a weak schedule thus far, you can argue that the Browns, based on the eye test, have actually had the best defense in football this year. But what the LA Chargers have, what they bring to the table here, is a top 6 passing offense led by Justin Herbert, the sophomore sensation, and a top 6 passing defense. You factor in one of the best passing defenses in football with a quarterback in Baker Mayfield who has done nothing. The Browns have one of the worst passing offenses in football. And I think that the Chargers at home in a game that's essentially a pick'em are going to walk away victorious. It's not going to be an easy one. I'm not saying that they're going to blow them out. We all know the Chargers are actually a weird team. They kind of tend to play better on the road than at home. But I think they're winning this one. I think the Browns have just gotten lucky too many times. They've had too many close calls. Minnesota, the offense did nothing. Defense picked up the slack. Houston, they let the Texans hang around in that one longer than they should have. You're playing with the big boys now, Cleveland. The LA Chargers are a playoff team this year. Give them to me at home minus 1.5.
Yeah, the Browns look terrible against Minnesota. Awful offensively. Yeah. Baker Mayfield went 15 of 33. The amount of throws he missed to Odell Beckham Jr., Odell was getting frustrated, but who could blame him? He had, it was late in the 4th quarter where they could have put the game on ice right there instead of giving the ball back to Minnesota, where Odell Beckham Jr. had a step. He could have had a walk-in touchdown. Baker throws it behind him. I don't know what that was. Baker Mayfield had, aside from the Kansas City game, Baker Mayfield hasn't looked good. So I love this pick too. Now it does feel somewhat like a trap. The Chargers coming down off of a big win and a big performance from Justin Herbert facing a team in Cleveland that has a really good defense. I think it is going to be a very tightly contested game. The line is, I think, aptly 1.5 for you. So it's going to be fun. It's just going to depend on which Baker Mayfield shows up. Is it going to be the one who can try to go toe to toe with Justin Herbert, or is it going to be the guy who throws, who goes 15 to 33 against Minnesota? If that's the case, the Chargers will win this by maybe between 7 and 10. Like, if you want to, this is a contract year for Baker too. Like, they're going to have to make a decision. Like, hey, are we going to give this guy $35-40 million to go out and go 15 to 33? And have to beat Minnesota 14-7, because if that's the case, I'm not paying for that. So it'll be interesting. I mean, we both love Justin Herbert. I don't have a fun nickname for him like I do with Zach Wilson, but I love Justin Herbert.
What do you got for Wilson? The Mormon missile?
Mormon piss missile. Yeah.
Mormon piss missile. That's right. Yeah. And
so
of course we all know about the ceiling mirror. So
correct. So look, Herbert had a fantastic game against the Raiders without really using Mike Williams. Mike Williams had one catch on Monday night. He used Jared Cook a lot. He used his tight ends. Keenan Allen is obviously in the mix as well. Jaden Guyton had a solid game. So like, he was just
Austin Eckler in the past game.
Austin Eckler as well. So like, they have guys that maybe don't get as much attention as they should. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams garner a lot of that attention, and rightfully so. They're both fantastic. But yeah, the Chargers to me, Asante Samuel Jr. is playing well. Derwin James had an interception. Their pass rush is good. This is a game that they should win. But it ought to be fun. It won't surprise me necessarily if Cleveland wins. It just depends on which Baker Mayfield shows up. Yeah. So let me get into my final pick. I'm going to go Tampa Bay -10. I'm doing it. Look, this is one of those things where the Buccaneers, they won. They didn't look all that great. Their secondary is falling apart. Luckily for them, though, they're playing a Miami Dolphins team that's an absolute tire fire, doesn't have a quarterback regardless of which one's starting, and I don't care about their weapons because they don't really have any outside of Jalen Waddle, who has had his moments where he looks good, but Will Fuller isn't going to be playing because, shocking, Will Fuller got hurt. So
wait, you mean Will Fuller is either hurt or suspended? I can't believe that.
Yeah, like, you say Will Fuller's name and he's missing practice. Like, the dude just cannot stay healthy. So defensively, outside of their secondary, we've said this a trillion times in this show, they're just not good. Like, they're not terrible, but their secondary is what very much makes their defense. And last year, a lot of what made their defense really good is they just got a ton of takeaways, and they're not really doing that so far this year. So to me, that's what sticks out. Tampa Bay is going to be angry about, yes, they got a win. They didn't play well. Antonio Brown had 2 big drops against the Patriots. So we'll see if Gronk's back. I don't know his status for Sunday. He didn't travel with the team to face New England. We'll see if he comes back. But regardless, I mean, Godwin, Evans, AB, they should be able to put up enough points against a Miami defense that leaves a lot to be desired. And I like them at home to cover the 10-point spread. I know it's a big spread, and I know that that's one that you typically stay away from. I try to not really breathe near them either. I'm kicking myself because I didn't take Buffalo -17 last week.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah, so Tampa Bay should cover this. I think they're going to be playing angry against a Miami team that's just bad.
Yeah, I mean, look, everything you said is spot on. It's just it comes down to the 10 points. I love this game for a teaser. I just, too many times I've seen a Brady-led team be up 14 with 2 minutes to go, and Miami come in with a garbage time touchdown. Also, 2 things here that kind of worry me a little bit. Even though this Dolphins team is obviously very different from last year's unit, Brian Flores knows Brady well from their time together in New England. And from his time in New England, Tom Brady has always struggled a bit against Miami. I mean, you've seen 13-3 Patriots teams have one of those 3 losses come to a 5-11 or 6-10 Dolphins squad.
Yeah.
So I know it's a different team, different coach, new setting, this, that, and the other. Tom Brady against Miami, I don't know. Love it as a teaser. I'm going to stay away from the 10. But my extra point, and this is where I'm going to contradict you here, Jarrett. My extra point is the Buffalo Bills Sunday Night Football in Kansas City, a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. Did I mention I cannot wait? I mean, the last time that these 2 teams played, Buffalo jumped out to that early lead, and Kansas City came back and knocked them down over and over and over again. In fact, before the Chiefs-Eagles game this past week, this was the only game Kansas City had covered in their last 14 contests. Now with the Eagles game, Kansas City has covered 2 out of their last 15. So how the hell can anyone in their right mind bet the Chiefs when they're 2-12-1 against the number in their last 15. If the Buffalo Bills win this, they're locking up home field for the postseason in Week 5. Let's go, Buffalo. Give me the Bills. Forget the 2.5 points. Money line plus 130.
I just can't see the Chiefs going to 2-3. They're seeming to get into a rhythm offensively. Yes, look, their defense is a problem, and they have to have some other game plan besides Patrick Mahomes will win. That they've got to get more. They've got to get better defensively, and they've got to get more than just Patrick Mahomes. I get it. I don't see them going to 2-3. I think Buffalo comes down. I think Buffalo plays a fine game. I think it's going to be high scoring, and it wouldn't shock me if it's a 35-30 game. I don't see the Chiefs losing 3 games in the first 5 weeks of the year.
How did Kansas City beat the Eagles? Or how did they cover, rather? How did they beat the Eagles by such a considerable margin?
Oh, because Patrick Mahomes destroyed them, and the Eagles don't have a great defense, and they don't have too much offensively.
Right. That's how they scored points. But how they covered was their defense played bend, don't break. The Eagles were down with goal to go numerous times and had to settle for a chip shot field goal. The Buffalo Bills, if they get inside the 10-yard line, are putting the ball in the end zone. That's the difference.
We will see what happens there, mate. I'm very much disagreeing with you on this. I do think that the Chiefs win, but I'm staying in the AFC East because I'm taking the Jets money line over the Falcons in London.
I was going to ask where your Zach Wilson bet was. I was expecting Jets +3.
We were talking about it last night, and I was tempted to do it, and I put it in. We'll get to my teaser later. So, look, the Jets, we saw what they did against the Titans defense. The Falcons defense is just as bad, if not worse, than the Titans defense. Like, Atlanta's defense is bad. So I think that's what's going to play into this more than anything is just Zach Wilson taking advantage of a horrible defense like he did last week. And you look at Atlanta offensively, who the hell would have thought that out of Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts, Cordero Patterson would be the best Falcons offensive player. So
did you just copy and paste that from one of your recent tweets?
I did. Yes, I did. So
I pay attention.
I'm glad. It's nice to have devoted friends like you. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. Like, the Jets they're not terrific defensively, and they're missing Marcus May, but they're better than the Falcons are. Right now at this stage of Matt Ryan's career, I think he's starting to develop those early Ben Roethlisberger syndromes where the arm just isn't quite what it used to be. And I think that in London, 9:30 a.m. kickoff time for us in the States, the Jets will get their second consecutive win under Robert Saleh. Zach Wilson will look good doing it against another bad defense. So Jets money line in London against the Falcons.
I don't hate it at all. The one advantage that an aging Matt Ryan might have in this one with the 9:30 start, I mean, it's going to be 3:30 his time, but he's an early riser, right? These old farts, like, he finishes his cream of wheat by 7:15 a.m.
There you go.
And Zach Wilson, that guy looks like Zac Efron. He's out there partying till 3 a.m. The guy's going to be in London. His Mormon housewife girlfriend's going to be thousands of miles away. You never know what Zach Wilson could be doing out there.
Mormon housewife girlfriend. That's nice. All right, let's get into some teasers.
Good
I don't
we're
know.
Not censored. My teaser of the week, it's a 4-teamer plus 300, and we are expanding here on Plays and Parlays. Next week, with the beginning of NFL bye weeks, there's a good chance we start expanding into the college football realm. But this week, we're taking baby steps here. And we are expanding into overs and unders because I've got 2 over-unders in my 4-team teaser. And the first of which, you mentioned it before when I picked the Broncos +1 in Pittsburgh. It's under 45.5. Just like you can tease the line of a football game, the line of a favorite, 6 points in a teaser, you can tease the over-under. 6 points either way. So I'm teasing it up to 45.5 and saying hammer the under. I'm also teasing the Cardinals and Niners down from 50 to 44, and I'm saying hammer the over. Now, as far as the 2 games, Pats, if I like them -9, I love them -3. And the Bills, if I think they're going to win, I think they're going to keep it to an 8-point game, even if they lose. So there's my teaser, 4 teams plus 300. You're welcome. Go make some money.
All right, and then we'll hop into my teaser. Jets +9. They're 3-point underdogs to the Falcons. I mean, I just said that I think they're going to win outright. So +9 feels pretty good. Green Bay +3. They were one of my pick sixes at -3. So at +3, they feel pretty good. Minnesota -1.5. This is going to be a weird one to me. I do think that they win, but the Lions have played surprisingly well this year. Now, aside from that monstrosity, the one time I bet on them in the year against the Bears, they go multiple red zone trips that they don't come away with any points, and they screw me. So I'm going to take the Vikings. Vikings look bad offensively outside of one drive last week against the Browns. They're facing a Lions defense that's much worse than Cleveland, so I think they should get the job done. Didn't feel confident enough in betting it 8.5 or 7.5, whatever the original line was, but 1.5 feels good. And then New England -2.5, they're going to cream the Texans. It's going to be bad. So +240, feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, weird thing with Minnesota, saw 7.5 yesterday. Today on Caesars, which is what ESPN uses, -9. So all of a sudden,
Vegas knows something.
Huge jump for Minnesota. But, Dan Campbell, he's more allergic to three-pointers than Ben Simmons. So anything can happen. Minnesota can lose this one. They can win it by 14. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Love the teaser, though. Really nothing here I don't like. Now, by the way, I just want to, before we get into our parlays, apologize for the fact that I keep looking to my right.
Yeah, what are you watching?
Well, this is a football betting show, but with the St. Louis Cardinals playing the LA Dodgers tonight, I got a little juice on the Cardinals +200 to win this game to take down Max Scherzer and the Dodgers, and a little something on the Cardinals +1,600 to win it all. They're the biggest World Series long shot. They're actually my pick to represent the National League in the World Series, which it's always risky to do because these wild card games, they're a one-game playoff. Anything can happen, but I love the Cardinals. They're a team fresh off a 17-game winning streak. If they beat the Dodgers tonight, go put something on them as a huge long shot to win the World Series because I think right now they're the best team in the National League.
Yeah, baseball. All right.
I think you actually might like baseball less than my girlfriend. Let's get into
here's the thing. I don't dislike baseball. It's just once, late August, September hits, it's football mode straight for me. I kind of forgot Max Scherzer was even a Dodger, not going to lie to you.
Well, come on, you're a Pennsylvania guy. Like, I don't blame you, man. If you're a Pittsburgh sports fan, it's impossible because the Pirates give you no reason to pay attention.
Oh, no, absolutely not. They're the farm team of the MLB.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Let's get into some parlays. I got a 6-teamer at +1,500 odds, and it's really not that crazy. It's the Rams -2.5, which is my straight pick. I gave you all the numbers. The Rams coming off a loss, best team in football since McVay took over against the spread. It's the Packers -3. I mean, come on, Green Bay, Cincinnati. Preseason, this line would have been -10. Take it while it's -3. The Bucks bought a few points here. 10 is risky. I think it's going to be no closer than a touchdown contest. So I'm going to ride with a -7. I'm risking a push here, but all a push does in a parlay is knock it down from a 6-teamer to a 5-teamer. New England -6. I mean, we love them -9, -3, -6, -15. Give me the Pats. Minnesota money line, just because anything can happen with this team. And then Arizona San Fran, I kind of met in the middle. The over-under is 50. My teaser's 44. I said, let's call it 47. I think 48 is a really comfortable number for the over in that contest. So I took him over 47, and that's the recipe to get +1,500 on your 6-team teaser.
Yeah, Arizona, San Francisco, that over should definitely be hit. As long as it's a 27-24 game, that should happen. So love that from you. Let me get into mine real quick. I'm going to take the Panthers money line over the Eagles. I will take the Cardinals -2. If I liked them -5.5, I'm going to like them -2. I bought them down a little bit in the parlay just to be completely safe.
Smart.
Yeah, same thing with New England. I bought it down to -2.5. It wasn't a horrible buy. Still solid value there. Green Bay -2.5, just in case something happens where, if we get a push. Vegas money line. That is one of the weirder lines. You touched on a 5.5-point line, Bears, Raiders. That one's going to be weird to me because if Justin Fields just has one of those games where John Gruden can't quite figure out how to slow him down, it could be closer than a 5.5-point line. So I'll take the Raiders money line. I think they bounce back and win. And then I'll take the Chiefs money line to beat the Bills +12-13 odds in this one.
I don't see anything there that I don't like. The Raiders scare me a little bit. I was talking Justin Fields preseason. Said he'd bang out a win against Detroit. Said he'd go to Vegas, make it 2 in a row before that real tough part of the Bears' schedule comes up where they have Green Bay, they have Tampa, they have Baltimore.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing there I don't like. Arizona, San Francisco always scares me a bit, but Arizona's so much the better team this year.
Yeah.
And Jarrett, I think we got 2 good parlays, so let's wrap it up with our survivors. It's the game we've spent so much of this show talking about. The New England Patriots beating the Houston Texans. Take one to the bank, survive in advance, and I'll talk to you about next week, week 6 of Survivor Pick'em, because this one is it's house money.
Retweet.
You copying son of a bitch.
I mean, look, it doesn't get much easier than this, and I'm not big on the Patriots this year. There's not too many games that I could see me just like really riding a Survivor with. Any team that I have left over, if they play the Texans, that's who I'm going to ride with. So yeah, Patriots over the Texans is it feels like a solid lock.
Yeah, the Bengals made me sweat last week, but we pulled it out. It's just like March Madness, survive in advance, and this one's going to be much easier. Jarrett, take us home.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at JBaileyNFL, fan side of Pittsburgh Sports Now, Crocker Report. You know what? We're getting closer to November when I start doing these film sessions on these different guys, so expect some YouTube stuff. I'm not going to do it on Twitter because I'm not risking my Twitter getting banned for using all 22. So you can probably find it on YouTube. Diving into guys like Spencer Rattler, Malik Willis, Carson Strong, a bunch of different quarterbacks to break down to see, who's going to be the cream of this 2022 class in terms of quarterbacks. So that'll start next month, and I'm excited about that. Always fun diving into film and looking forward to the draft. So yeah, fan side of Pittsburgh Sports Now, Crocker Report, where you can find me. Joe, where can they find you on Twitter?
Find me on Twitter at the Joe Serralo. Find me on Instagram at Joe Serralo. Serralo Sports Talk, my usually weekly podcast in addition to this show. And come back to Plays and Parlays next week, because Jarrett and I have some more news, another project we might be working on together, potentially for a Thursday, October 14th launch. So we'll be announcing the final details next week on Plays and Parlays.
Yeah, so as always, thanks for watching. However you bet, just do it responsibly. And let's go make some money.
week Don't 5, be responsible. Come on.
Week 5 kicking off Thursday night. Rams Seahawks. Joe bet on it. So we'll see how much his parlay sticks in. We'll see how much money we make over the weekend. So as always, thank you so much for joining us. Jarrett Bailey, Joe Serralo, Plays and Parlays. We will see you next week.